At the edge of a quiet forest, where a narrow mud road slowly disappears into the trees, there stood a small wooden workshop. People in the nearby village simply called it the old man's place. No one knew exactly how old he was, but everyone knew one thing. He had been there longer than anyone could remember, and all his life he did only one thing. He worked with wood, but what he created was different. A table made by him would stand steady for decades. A door he built would open smoothly even after years of rain and heat. People often said, "He doesn't just work with wood, he understands it." One day, two young men arrived at his workshop. One was Ethan, calm, observant, quietly curious. The other was Jake, strong, confident, and full of self-belief. Jake spoke first. "Are you the best woodworker here?" The old man didn't look up. "That's what people say." Jake smiled slightly. "We want to learn from you. How long will it take to become like you?" This time, the old man stopped working. He looked at them carefully and asked, "Do you want to learn, or do you just want to do?" Ethan frowned slightly, thinking. Jake laughed. "If we can do it well, that's enough. Why waste time learning too much?" The old man said nothing. He simply stood up. "Then come to the forest tomorrow morning." The next morning, before sunrise, they followed him into the forest. No tools, no axes, no saws. Jake was already confused. "What are we supposed to do?" The old man pointed at the trees. "Look." He touched one tree. "This one is strong, but the grain twists. If you make a table from this, it will crack." Then another. "This one is softer, but the grain is straight. Good for doors." Ethan bent down, touching the bark, observing carefully. Jake crossed his arms. "How long are we going to just look at trees?" No one answered. By noon, they were still walking and observing. Jake was getting irritated. "We came here to work, not to stare at trees all day." The old man calmly replied, "If you don't understand the wood, you will only destroy it." Jake smirked. "I'm strong enough to cut any tree." The old man nodded. "Yes, but you will cut the wrong one." Days passed. Ethan started carrying a small notebook. He wrote everything down. Jake grew more impatient. "This is useless. We're not here to study theory." After a week, Jake couldn't take it anymore. "That's enough." He stood in front of the old man. "Give me an axe. I'll show you what I can do." The old man nodded. "All right." Jake grabbed the axe and chose a big tree. He swung with power, sharp, fast, confident. Soon, the tree fell. Jake turned proudly. "See, that's how you work." The old man said nothing. He only asked, "What will you make from it?" "A table." "Go ahead." Jake worked all day, cutting, shaping, joining. By evening, he had made a decent-looking table. He smiled. No need for all that thinking. The old man walked over. He pressed his hand gently on the table. A faint crack sound appeared. Jake froze. The old man pointed. "Twisted grain." "I told you." Jake frowned. "It's a small mistake." The old man shook his head. "No, it's a mistake from the beginning." The air became tense. Jake felt challenged. He glanced at Ethan. "And you? Still writing? When will you actually do something?" Ethan stayed silent, but something had changed in his eyes. That evening, the old man said, "Sit down. Let me tell you a story." They sat under a tree. The wind moved gently through the forest. Two travelers were crossing a desert. Both were extremely thirsty. They found a well, but there was no rope, no bucket. The first man looked down and walked away. "It's useless," he said. The second man stayed. He searched around. He found small things. A broken pot, some dry vines, pieces of cloth. He tied them together. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. He drank and survived. The old man paused, then asked, "Who was more thirsty?" Jake answered quickly, "The second man." Ethan nodded. The old man smiled slightly. "No." They both looked surprised. The first man was also thirsty. He looked at them deeply, but he was not thirsty enough to stay. The forest became silent. The words sank slowly. The old man turned to Jake. "You are strong. You are fast. But you don't stay long enough to understand." Jake didn't argue this time. He turned to Ethan. "You observe, but you haven't tried yet." Ethan lowered his head. The old man stood up. "Tomorrow, each of you will choose a tree. Make something. It doesn't have to be perfect." The next day, Jake didn't swing the axe immediately. He stood still, touched the tree, remembered, twisted grain will crack. He stepped away, chose another tree, slower, but wiser. Ethan finally began to work. He made mistakes, many, but each time he paused, thought, corrected. By evening, Jake made a chair, not perfect, but strong. Ethan made a small box, rough, but stable. The old man looked at both. This time, he nodded. Jake looked at his chair, then asked softly, "Have I been wrong all this time?" The old man replied, "You only wanted to prove you knew." Ethan asked, "And me?" The old man smiled. "You have just begun." Months passed. Both of them changed. Jake no longer rushed. Ethan no longer only observed. They learned to understand before doing, and do to understand deeper. One evening before leaving, Jake asked, "What is the secret to becoming truly good?" The old man picked up a piece of wood, placed it down, and said, "Not everyone who holds an axe is a craftsman. Not everyone who reads understands. The one who becomes great is the one who knows he is not enough yet and stays longer than others at Tay." They stood there quietly. No one laughed this time. As they were about to leave, the old man added, "Wood is never in a hurry. Only people are. But if a person learns to slow down, he will go much further." They walked away from the forest, but what they carried was not just skill. It was something deeper.